everyone, my name is Lauren Berggren, and welcome to today's webinar on event renewal and participant management. Today's session will go over renewing your event, refunds, self-serve options, bulk options, and more. We will get started here shortly, but first I wanted to go over a few quick housekeeping notes to keep everything running smoothly. You will have the ability to minimize or maximize the control panel using the arrow button in the upper left corner. Right now, you are all on mute and you will stay on mute the whole time. We will be allowing questions during this session and we'll get to them as time allows. Please submit them using the question pane on the control panel, which is right below the webcam button down below. If your question does not get answered during today's session, someone will follow up with you after this presentation. And within 24 to 48 hours, the recorded webinar will be shared with all registrants, so no need to take notes. I want to introduce today Larry Miner, who is a RunSignup sales representative, and Herman Kennard, Senior Account Manager with RunSignup. Thanks, guys.
Hi, everyone. This is Larry. So kind of jumping into today's agenda, we're going to start off with looking at renewing your event, the how-tos and why that's important. Then we'll jump into some participant management information for 2022. Herman will help us with refunds, self-serve options, as well as bulk options, and then discuss some of the postponed and canceled event options and tools that we offer to help get things back on track in 2022. And then we'll wrap up with information on deferrals for participants that got pushed back from events that were potentially postponed or canceled in the past years. So just to recap who we are event technology experts, and our mission is to make it free and easy for small businesses and nonprofits to generate more revenue, grow their events, and engage their attendees. We create free and easy to use event software that you can fully control. Currently, we're working with just over 26,000 events on our platform and help our customers raise just over $1.4 billion. So renewing your event, how to renew and why to renew. On the sales side, working with some of the first or second year events, I'm commonly asked, should I either create a new event from ground zero when wanting to host, a second annual event? Should I just go back into the previous year's event and change the dates? Or in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of virtual events, and a lot of race directors are thinking that maybe they should not renew a virtual event because this year they're switching to an in-person race. And to all of those, the answer is actually to renew the event. So you don't want to do anything with changing dates from previous events. You don't want to, even if you had a virtual event, you don't want to have to create a new event. So you can actually, if you did have a virtual event in the past, you can renew that event and add to it an in-person event. So almost hosting a hybrid event for this upcoming year. So, and we can go over how all that looks here shortly. So we have three options for renewing your event. One of the first options you'll be presented with is when you log into your RunSignup account and click on your profile tab and My Races, you'll see the drop down for past events. And then at the bottom of that drop down, you'll see the button to renew. When you get into the renewal form, basically, you'll have an opportunity there to just verify the event name, the event type, start date, registration, things like that. And that'll start the renewal process with getting the event set up for the upcoming year. So once again, we're not creating a new event from scratch. We're just going through verifying any changes that may have needed to be made for the upcoming year and then renewing that event. So this is one of the first options you're going to have in doing that. Looking at the second option, if possibly you skipped by that when you were logging into your account and didn't see it, once you get into the dashboard of your race, you'll see this banner at the top. If it's been at least 4 months since your last race, big it's time to renew logo will be at the top there with the big green button, trying to catch your eye if you are going in to potentially make adjustments to an event that has passed for an upcoming year. So by clicking that green button, you'll be redirected to the renewal form as well. And third and finally, if somehow you maybe didn't see that as well, you were kind of focused on getting right into that race wizard and making some changes, you'll see this pop up in the race wizard as soon as you log into your race wizard saying, do not edit any information from last year's event. Instead, click the renew button. So just trying to make sure that you do recognize that renewing the event is the best approach, especially if your intention is to set up an event for an upcoming year. So those are 3 ways that we have to renew your event. Now we can talk about why it's important to renew your event. So one of the first is, of course, you're going to keep the same URL from year to year. So this is why we also recommend not using terms like annual, not putting years, such as the current year of the event in the title of the event, just because it's going to get generated in the URL. So if you share that after you renew your event, that URL is still going to contain that year in the URL. So you want to make sure you don't do that. Also helps to improve your search engine optimization. So we want to make sure that people are able to, your participants are able to find your event, and they can use the same link that you may have sent out in years past, or possibly QR codes, things like that, so they can find your event. You also are going to maintain many of the settings from the previous year. So it requires less customization when setting up your event. So you'll notice that registration, pricing, if you had teams or volunteers, all of these are going to be options you can choose from to either keep for this upcoming year's event, or you can make adjustments to if maybe some of those fields have changed. One thing to keep in mind though, when you do renew your event, anything in plain text, so such as in the description, that's also going to be copied directly from the event before. So you want to make sure that you go in, read through anything that you typed out in the plain text fields, because you may have put something in there about price increases for registration, and it's going to have that date range in there for those, and that's going to come over exactly the way it was written for the previous year. So you want to make sure you do some just reading through and reviewing that. Some of the other benefits, of course, of renewing is going to be your marketing capabilities. So just want to kind of look at here. You can track returning participants. So anyone that's been a part of your event in the past, you could see, year to year, who's come over, tracking where these participants are coming from. So kind of helps to give you an idea of how your marketing strategy is going, whether that be just if participants that are coming over year after year because they're just repeat, or if they're finding your event on Facebook. Of course, being able to utilize the email marketing tool is also going to be really helpful, because which we'll get into a little bit more in a second, but being able to reach out to those participants from the previous year or years past is going to also help to generate interest and awareness of your event, and just being able to see where your participants are coming from.
I also just wanted to chime in where you're able to find the reports like this, because the slide does not show. Within the race dashboard, on the dashboard tab, you'll see that normally this page just gives you an overview with your page views, signups, things like that. If you click the overview drop down on this table, it's going to give you some more options. That's how you're able to find the promotions drop down. And there's a few other ones that you're able to view different information and compare year after year. Just keep in mind with the dashboard charts, it's going to give you a 90-day range. Just because it takes so much data, we're not able to expand more than 90 days at a time. So if you do want to view farther out information, you just need to set a custom date range and go from there.
Absolutely. So these are actually some of those charts that Herman was just speaking about, and just being able to see how your event compares to last year. Another huge benefit, just to see if you're on track for participation or registration dollar amount that you maybe had from last year or the year before. Gives you a good tracking and reporting on that, and just being able to compare your financial data as well as registration, transactions, and donations year to year.
And to access this chart that you're seeing with the total registration between this year and last year, it's going to be in the top of the race dashboard. On the right-hand side, it's going to be the signups drop down. Just to clear up some confusion, where you see the registrations, transactions, and donations showing this year and last year, those numbers are going to be on a rolling 365 days. So you're looking at the past calendar year and not the last event, opposed to where the chart below where you see this year and last year is comparing the events and not comparing a rolling 365 days like the blue, green, and orange numbers above.
So here's where we're going to look at some of the emails collected. So creating your list from year to year is definitely going to be super helpful with marketing the event, being able to reach out to participants that were a part of your event. And of course, you're going to be able to compile these lists from each event. If you want to include or exclude any of these lists from specific emails that you're sending out, of course, this is really helpful with any sort of race day information, making your participants aware that registration for the upcoming year is going to be opening soon. More recently, just sending out any sort of COVID protocols that your participants need to be aware of, as well as race day information. So being able to gather all this data and have it in one place is going to also make your hosting your event year after year a lot easier. So looking at some best practices, if you had donations in previous years, it's recommended that you check the box under the renewal settings to make sure you create a new donation period. Basically, this is going to allow you to separate, for instance, your 2021 donation period from 2022's. Also super helpful with reporting and for financial purposes. Making sure your payment account is up to date is also really important. If you notice when you log into your dashboard that you have a message at the top saying that payment account attention is required, you should reach out to our finance team, make sure that you get that taken care of, because we want to make sure that you can open registration on time. And then of course, Andrew did a great video on renewing a canceled race. It's kind of create your own or choose your own adventure type deal. So definitely recommend watching that just to make sure that you have everything set up for this upcoming year and ready to open registration. And of course, another benefit that I forgot to mention earlier, of course, with renewing your event is going to be allowing your participants to find results from previous years for your event. So basically, if you have results from say 2018, all of those are going to be listed under your same event. So you could click that results tab and see a drop down of each year and be able to go back and look at those results instead of having to look it up under separate events. So participant management for 2022. Next, we're going to look at what's different for 2022, as well as goals for participant management. And Herman's going to help us go over some of that in a little bit. And of course, the past 2 years have been pretty messy. An unusual amount of races have either been canceled or postponed. So we want to help you to kind of give you some information on what tools we offer and how to get things back on track in 2022, from anything from deferrals, refunds that had to be issued if you're transferring to another race or your race was run virtually. And of course, how to handle races that were canceled or postponed more than once.
All right, thanks, Larry. So kind of what I'm going to be covering, as Larry said, is the participant management. Some of the goals for participant management moving forward is clear communication, just to limit any possible confusion that your participants may be having. More information that you could get them, the better. This will just make it easy. We have a bunch of self-serve tools that they're able to go in and make changes for themselves. There's also bulk tools that you can use. So if you do need to make changes for a large number of registrations and you don't want to do that one by one, you're able to do multiple at a time. This is going to ensure that all participants end up with the right solutions to their issues that they had from 2020, 2021 with cancellations and things like that. And it's good to have transparent policies so everyone knows when they're registering for the race what's going on as far as refunds, cancellations, transferring to other races and things like that. So we're just going to start off covering with refunds. So with refunds, you have the option to turn it on or off or to allow participants to issue refunds for themselves. A lot of the races do leave refunds off. This way that the participant would need to contact the race and then they handle refunds on a case-by-case basis, opposed to just having it turned on and then maybe you go to bed one night and you wake up and your numbers looking different. You don't realize why. It's because maybe you had a few people request refunds overnight. So to access the refunds, you just want to go into the participant management, and then refunds and refund policy. So this is where you want to enable it if you do want participants to be able to issue their own refunds. So with that, you are able to set a refund processing fee. So let's say if the race was $25 and you want to have a $5 fee, you can set that $5 fee so that anytime somebody requests a refund, that $5 is going to be taken out of the amount that they're refunded. There's also the ability to set a cutoff date. So you can say, hey, I don't want refunds 2 weeks before the race, and then you can just set that date. So that cutoff date is going to be at 11:59 of the date you select. You're not going to be able to set it during the day at a specific time. There's also an option to give a full refund. The full refund is just going to include the processing fees that the participant paid. So if you are going to include the process fees, that would actually come out of the races fund, because once the processing fee is collected, we don't have a way to get that back from the credit card company to allow the refund to be issued with it. So it would come out of the races pocket. And to issue refunds, one thing that comes up a lot with it is that as registrations come in, a race will go to issue a refund and they'll get an error saying that they don't have any funds in their refund reserve. So what your refund reserve is just a bank where the money is set aside specifically for refunds. So automatically some funds are going to be put aside to your refund reserve just in case, and you can release those funds at any time. If not, they'll just get released back to you after the race is over. So another option with that, with the refund reserve, you're able to use your bulk refunds up to 1,000 participants at a time. And it's going to be the same thing. You are going to need to have funds in your refund reserve. Then you're also able to go into your participant list, manage somebody's registration, and then issue it a refund that. So that's how you can do it by case. So if somebody does need a refund, you can just go in and manage it. There is a $0 refund fee. A long time ago, it used to be a $1 charge for issuing refunds, but we went ahead and did away with that just in case anybody isn't aware of that. And I know with a lot of people trying to handle their cancellations from 2020, 2021, if somebody registers more than a calendar year ago, as a race director, you're not able to issue that refund. So what you would need to do is reach out to your account manager. If you're not sure who your account manager is, you can email info, I-N-F-O, at RunSignup.com, and they'll be able to put you in contact with your account manager, or they can also help you issue that refund. Another cool feature with refunds, it's called conditional refunding. So what that means is that you're able to enable refunds, but a refund will not be issued to a participant that requests a refund until somebody has registered replacing their spot. So this way that you're just making sure that if you are potentially losing a participant, one is coming in to replace it before that refund is issued. And then with setting a refund policy, there's a max of 1,000 characters that you can have in there. And then what it's going to do is add a menu tab to your race page. And that is also where the participants would need to go if they are going to want to issue themselves a refund if you have it enabled. So now we're just going to cover some of the self-serve options. If you look, we got a best practice form. So some of the things that they can change: participant info, event transfers, race transfers, participant transfers. That's just going to be somebody transferring their registration to a friend or somebody else who wants to take their spot. So if you're not issuing refunds, they have the ability to transfer that to somebody else. We're also going to cover deferrals. Giveaway management, add-on questions, group team, corral management, shipping, address management. Those are all things that participants can go into their profile, manage their registration. So if they need to change their giveaway size, if they selected the wrong shirt size, they can change that. If they need to go back and edit an add-on, or if they want to go back in and purchase an add-on. So somebody goes through registration, doesn't want to buy that extra t-shirt, then a week or so later they decide they actually do want it, they could go back in and purchase that shirt through their managing their registration. Question management. So if you're asking for, say, emergency contact information, let's say somebody registers and then they find out their emergency contact is going to be out of town, instead of having to contact you, they could just go ahead and go into their registration and update that question. Group and team management, kind of the same thing. If somebody registers for a team, accidentally joins the wrong team, they can go back in and change it. Or if they register as an individual and then they realize one of their friends is also participating and they have a team set up and they want to join their team, they can go ahead and manage that and join that team. Or they can go back in and create a team if they would like. If you do have corrals, a lot of races were doing this just because of COVID regulations spacing. They can go in and change their corral. If they notice they might be in a faster corral, they want to space it out, or they might decide that they want to sleep in a little bit more and get a later start, and not being an earlier corral, they can go back in and change that. And then if their shipping address or anything like that changes, they're able to go ahead and update that. So keep in mind that many registrations for postponed races were originally processed 12 to 18 months ago, and a lot has changed for participants in that time. So we just want to make it easier for them to update all of their information, because over a year and a half, there's addresses changed, shirt sizes changed, things like that that you just don't want to have to manually handle for each and every one of your participants. So it's better to give them the ability to do that. And then you can also find all of these settings in the participant management menu. So if you look, you can see all of the other options in here that you are able to use. And then it's kind of as I discovered before. So with participant info, you're able to enable different fields of which you want. So you can have it so that maybe they edit their address, phone number, things like that. And there's also fields that you're not able to. So with event transfers is going to be within the same race. So if you have a 5K, a 10K, a fun run, you can allow participants to transfer throughout these if you would like, and you can also set a date where they're not able to transfer past. So with the event transfers, you are able to charge a fee for this. A question that we get asked a lot is if an event that the participant is transferring to costs more, it's by default, it's going to charge the difference. So if they're going from a $20 event to a $30 event, they're going to get a $20 transfer credit from their original registration, and then they will just have to pay the difference. You can also set it that there isn't going to be a fee charged if you don't want to charge a fee for participants transferring through events. Now, when transferring from a more expensive event to a lower event, so let's say they're going from a $30 event to a $20 event, a refund is not automatically issued for that transfer. So if a participant does downgrade, they would have to reach out to the race if they are going to do a refund. With that, you can decide as a race if you are going to be giving discounts for somebody transferring to a cheaper event. I've seen it where a refund, the race does honor and gives a refund, and I've seen it where a race does not. So it's up to you and what you would like to do. You kind of just want to decide what works best for your event. So race transfers kind of work the same way, but it's going to be if you have multiple races on RunSignup. So for this to happen, you are going to need to be the race director on both of the events or all of the events that you're going to want to have a participant to be able to transfer to. So when you're going through the race transfer settings, it's the same way as the other settings. You're able to charge a fee, you can have a cutoff date, and then you would just select what events that you want them to be able to transfer to. And with the participant transfers, there's two different ways that this can be done. One is for a refund and one is for a gift. So with the refund option with the participant transfers, so a registrant would come in, manage their registration. They would put the name and email of the person that they want to transfer the registration to. The person gets the email, they're going to have to go through and register. The transfer will not be complete until the new person finishes registering. So once that happens, the new person is going to pay for their registration, and then the original person who's transferring is going to get a refund. Now, if you do it as a gift, it's not going to be a refund at all. No fees are going to be exchanged. It's just going to get the email. They'll go through. The new person will just register for free. And then this way, they will just have to handle the funds themselves offline. And you can set a fee for doing this, and then the fee will just be taken out. So for deferrals allow participants to put their registration on hold to the next year. So that's kind of what happened a lot with 2020. Instead of getting refunds, participants just said, hey, I'll just set it aside, defer my registration until next year. And then when next year comes around, I will just claim the deferral. So we have a new process for that to make it a lot easier for race directors that I'm going to go more into detail about a little later. And the giveaway and add-on management, it's kind of the same thing as earlier. They're going to be able to update their shirt size. They're going to go in and be able to change their add-on or purchase a new one if they would like. Question management, make an update, emergency contact, any other questions that you may have. Same with the groups or teams. They can create, join, or change teams after they register. With the corral management, let's say somebody registers as soon as you open registration a few months out, they're training really hard, and a month before the race, they realize I'm a lot faster than I was when I signed up. I want to move into a faster corral. They're able to do that. And then the main cause for shipping address changes is somebody moving. And again, all of these can be found in the participant management menu of the race dashboard. Now I'm just going to cover some bulk options. This just makes it easier for race directors to do everything at once. I've had races in 2020 that they had to bulk defer everybody. So instead of going through one by one or having the participants do it themselves, we just pull all the registration IDs, import them into the tool, and then it'll just put everybody in the deferred list. And you can find that under the reports not registered menu of the race dashboard. So with bulk refunds, you are able to set limits as in a max refund. So if you don't want to refund everybody past X amount of dollars, you can do that. Or if you have a large group of participants and you want to maybe, let's say, we'll give them a $5 refund just for going through, you can put everybody in there, set the max refund to $5, and then everybody's registration, no matter what they paid, they're just going to get a $5 refund on that. Something to keep in mind with refunding, we're not able to refund more money than a participant paid. I get that question a lot. So if somebody pays $15 and they say, oh, I'm setting my max refund to $20, is the person that paid $15 going to get an extra $5 back? They are not. We're not able to refund more than they paid. So the postpone and cancel options, this is a big tool that helped a lot of races out in 2020 when it was coming to the postponed races and the cancellations. What it did, it gave you a message that you can display on your race page, and then it gave your participants a few different options. That's where you see the review the participant decision report. So what this does is just create a little report. So when you're going in to enable the postpone and cancel options, there's three options you can select from. The race was postponed to a later date, the race was changed to virtual, or the race was canceled and will not be held. And then we have a few preset options. You allow your participant to indicate that they want to stay in the race. So if you're just postponing it or cancel, say, hey, I do want to stay in the race. And then you would just defer those participants. And then whenever the event came back around, they could just go in and claim the deferral. If you were providing the virtual option, there's an option that says I want to switch to virtual, because that was happening a lot. A lot of these races were just in person, but then once they weren't able to have in-person events, went ahead and started canceling, realized, hey, just switching to virtual. So you're still going to get the same race experience. It's just going to be at home. You still get your packet sent out and things like that. Another option, one that I really like because it's race friendly. It's allow registrants to indicate that they want to let the race keep the money. So if you do have to postpone or you do have to cancel for whatever reason, and let's say you just have those participants that really support what you've been doing, they stand behind what your race has been doing, they're able to just go ahead and say, hey, the race can keep my money. I don't need to defer. I don't need to do anything like that. And then the last option is that you can have them indicate that they want a refund. So what this is going to do is going to just take all of the participants' answers and just put them in a report for you, so you can easily see who wants to do what. So this is where those bulk tools are come in handy. So you could just refund everybody who selected that they want a refund. You can switch everybody to virtual using the bulk event transfers at once. This way, you're handling it in groups, so you'd only have a few things to choose from. Another question I get about this postpone and cancel option tools is, are we able to add more options? So there's only going to be 4 options that you're going to be able to use to have the participants select from, but you can customize those to be whatever options that you would like. So for example, one of my races, they have other races. So we're going to cancel this race, and the options that they gave the participants were for them to be able to switch to another race. So each option was just a different race that the participant can switch into. Now deferrals. So deferrals was pretty much a feature that wasn't really used that much across the board until COVID hit. And what we're just going to go ahead and cover is managing deferrals, import and transfer deferrals, using the coupon code method, reserve entry links, or defer via race transfer. So these are just all ways to get your past participants from the previous year that deferred into the current year. So with the deferral report, so in the report options, not registered, you'll have a deferral report, and this is going to give you a report of all of the people who deferred, and you're able to change that year by year. So normally when you go into the report, it's going to show the current year. So if you go in there and you don't see anybody, don't panic. Just use the drop down and switch to the previous year where you have those referrals. So main question, how do I get the deferred registrations to this year's race? You can import or transfer them into the current year. You can send them a coupon code. You can use a reserve entry link with a loyalty list. You can use the defer via race transfer tools, and this is going to be how the participants are going to be able to claim their deferrals themselves. So with the import or transfer, one thing that you're going to want to consider is that it's easy for deferred registrations that they don't need to complete any action. So it's going to be hands off. So if you have a participant group that does ask a lot of questions, this is going to narrow them because they're not going to be doing anything themselves. You're just going to be doing it. With the cons of it, it could increase the cost. Traditionally, less than 60% of registrations are actually claimed. So what it just is that year over year, people just forget that they deferred, and then they just let it be. Something else with the import and transfer, you're not going to have an updated waiver for the new event. This is very important. This is kind of why I try to steer away from this option, but sometimes it is the best option depending on the situation. And then also if a participant has outdated information, shirt size, address, any of the custom questions, emergency contact, things like that, that might have changed, they're going to need to update this most of the time, but you're gonna have to remind them to do that because if you're importing them in, it's just gonna pull the last year's data. And then if you do want to use one of these options, you can use the participants import, and then for the transfers, participant management, and then the bulk race and event transfer. And this will give you the option to select the event that you want to bulk transfer, and it'll automatically populate those registration IDs into the tool. So this way you don't have to go pull them from the participant list and then copy and paste them over. So the coupon code is pretty straightforward. So what you would just do is create a coupon code. What I always recommend is giving everybody their own unique coupon code. This way that if you're using one coupon code, sometimes participants realize, hey, this code keeps working. So then they start sharing it with people who weren't even registered for the previous year. So now you have a bunch of people at your race that didn't pay, and they're going to try to register for free and participate for free. So to prevent the coupon code from being abused, you just would need to create multiple coupon codes. So an easy way to do this, so if you have a lot of participants, you can use a code generator. Random.org is one, I believe, or you just Google random code generator and you just create your CSV with that. So when you're into the financial pricing coupons, there's a field that you're able to upload multiple coupon codes at once, and you can set them all to the same rules. That is going to have to be in a text file. So if you're trying to upload a CSV into the coupons, it's not going to work. So it will need to be a text file. So then you could just email out everybody their own code using the replacement tags. So that can be discussed with your account manager because it goes a little bit in more detail. It's in a little bit of a few-step process. I just don't have time to explain it now. We're going to focus on the other options. So reserve entry link. A reserve entry link is in the participants menu. So what the reserve entry is going to do is going to send an email to the person, and they're just going to go ahead and be able to click that email and then register that way. So if you're going to use a multi-use reserve entry, it's just going to be one code that you share with everybody. Now with the single use, you're going to need to upload a CSV list with at least name and email in it. And with the reserve entry, if you're just going to let all your deferrals register for free, you can set the price for the events to 0. And then it's just not going to charge. You can set dates on how long it'll work, things like that. And you can set how many people they can register, what events they can register for. So you can tweak it to make it best work for you. Now using the multi-use with the loyalty list, so what's this going to allow is that so you're going to create a loyalty list with your deferred participants, and you can link that loyalty list to the reserve entry. So this way, it's going to prevent anybody that's not on the loyalty list from registering. So somebody can't share their link with their friend or their neighbor. Somebody who's not on that list is going to give them an error. And then a few notes about the reserve entries. An automatic email is not going to be sent like the single use. So with the multi-use, you are going to have to send that link out. If you make a mistake on the settings, it's easy to update, and it's just going to update the link for everybody that's using it. So if you set the dates wrong on it, or if you set the fee wrong for one of the events, you're able to change that, and it'll change for everybody that's going to go through and use this link. And then the defer via raise transfer, one of our account managers say it's the best feature of 2020. So this cuts down on you having to manage it. So we have a great help guide for this. And if you don't know, it's just help.runsignup.com is where you find all of our help guides. So what they would just need to do is once you enable the defer via race transfers, you can set the settings as you do any other types of transfers. A participant would just need to go into their profile, and in their profile, there's going to be a deferrals tab. They would just need to go to that, look at their registration, and then they're going to see a complete deferral. And this is just going to take them through registering again and get them into the new event. So also with the defer via race transfer, you're going to have a few other options. So you can set a fee for this if you would like. You can have a cutoff date, and you're able to select how you want the deferral credit to work. So one of the most common ones is you just use the amount that the deferred registered paid. So if somebody paid $20 for their event last year, they're going to have a $20 credit to use this year. So if they try to register later or things like that, you have price increases, you're not going to have to worry about maybe they're getting in for a lesser price. The new event can always be set to free. This kind of cuts down on questions having to do with refunds, and it makes it easier for the participants to do. And then the last option is set the credible amount based on the previous event. So this is going to go on the previous event cost, possibly not what they paid. So if you only have one registration period, and last year your event was $25, let's say this year was $30, they're still just going to get that $25 because that was the cost of last year's event. And this is just what it looks like in the profile. With the image, you see the deferral tab. They have the link to complete the deferral. Just a few things to remember, that you are going to have your new event up and running. So if you haven't renewed yet, your registration periods aren't open, somebody's not going to be able to claim their deferral. So this kind of leads to error. Sometimes participants try to go in a little too early and they're wondering why it's not working. Normally it's just because the new event isn't open yet, so they're just trying to jump the gun a little bit. And that's me. So what we're just going to do now, we do have a time for some questions. So Lauren, if you just wanted to read a few off that you feel that'd be beneficial. Just a reminder, if we don't get to your questions, you will be reached out to in the next couple of days from your account manager to help you out with that.
We don't have any remaining questions, actually. So if anyone has a last minute question they want to ask, please feel free to put it in the question box. If not, you can always email info@runsignup.com. Oh, we have two that just come in. If a sponsor is granted 5 entries included in their sponsorship, should we use the reserved entry link to complete this? And will we set the pricing as 0?
Yes, you could use the reserve entry, so that would work. You can set the cap on the reserve entry to only be used for 5 participants. You can also use a coupon code too. In the advanced options of the coupon code, you're able to set limits on the number of registrants that are able to use the coupon code. So sometimes the coupon code option might be a little easier. It just depends on your liking, but they'll both accomplish the same thing.
Stacy, I actually used the sponsor with the reserved entry links for an event I personally did, and it worked out really well because then we could just email our sponsors a nice email with the link. So that's a good option too. Let's see. How do you renew your race before the current race is over?
Okay, so there is not a way to renew the race before the current race is over. So to be able to renew the race, it's going to have to be 1 day after your event. So if your event was on the 22nd, the 23rd at midnight, you're going to be able to renew your event. So if you're looking to open registration for the next year before your event has passed, you will need to create another event for that. It gets a little bit more complicated. So if you are looking to do that, I would just connect with your account manager.
Yes, or you can email info and they'll go over some options for you with that. Using the bulk race transfer tool would probably be helpful. Let's see. Someone gave a great suggestion, but to create a participant management page called Manage Registration with instructions on how to do each thing with the links to the help guide. So that's a great suggestion, Billy. Thank you. Janet, you can email info@runsignup.com to see if you have an account manager and who that person is. All right, I will take one more question and we will get to the others. Can you change the name of your race after it is created or break apart two races that were tied together?
Yes, so to change your race name, what you would just need to do is go into the race wizard on the basic info step, and you're able to change that. So now one thing you have to keep in mind with changing your race name is the URL that you have when you first created the race. Because if you do change your race name, that URL is not going to automatically update. So that would need to be done by RunSignup admin. So you can reach out to info or your account manager to get assistance with updating your URL. And if you want to break apart two races, a race into two, you are able to do that. You would have to create a new race for the second one. And one thing that you might want to keep in mind is how you want to do the data. So if you want to still have the participants in the new race, you would just have to transfer everybody over from one race to the other. And you're able to do that and still keep the participants in both places. So just because you're moving them from one race to another doesn't mean that you're going to lose them in the original race.
Great, thanks, Herman. Well, that is all the time we have for today. We appreciate everyone joining. And as a reminder, the link will be set out within 1 to 2 days of all the great information Larry and Herman shared with us today. Have a good day.